Welcome to Uncle's channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy, Game Boy Color game. Today we're on a game called Mickey's Racing Adventure for the Game Boy Color. Now, it's not to be confused with Mickey's Speedway USA, which is a very similar game. As a matter of fact, it's the exact same game engine when it comes to the racing mechanics. However, Mickey's Racing Adventure is a significantly better game in my opinion. There's a full adventure mode in it. There's tons of mini games included. Their ability to like level up as far as like a RPG element to a degree, as far as like increasing your car's racing speed, getting different cars as you go, and so even like magic spells as well. There's just a ton of gameplay in this that really just goes above and beyond a traditional racing game like Speedway USA was. And I'd actually akin this game more like something like Diddy Kong Racing, which as a matter of fact is made by Rare directly after Diddy Kong Racing, so maybe there is some influence on that as far as like some of the mechanics they are choosing. But overall, excellent game. We're going to dive into all that and more as we journey through Mickey's Racing Adventure. Now, this particular game did get moved up into queue a bit because Michael Charles ZN6RH, once again, probably random letters at the close there, suggests I covers the game sooner than later, so that should moved up into queue. If there's a game that you want to see me cover sooner than later, let me know the name of the game in the comments down below. And just like Mickey's Racing Adventure, I'll move it right on up. Now I can start the videos up looking at the box art for the game first. And the box art here has Mickey looking very determined, racing in front of Pete, who's looking more frustrated than anything. He's got a little hat flying off in the background. As far as like what's going on behind them, it's very red, very basic for the most part. Title of the game, I mean, it's not like an amazing cover, but it does summarize like what the game is about. And so it's not going to turn anybody off. It's not going to really win anybody over at the same time. So a pretty average cover. Now when you load the game up here, you have the title screen, which is looking very basic, carrying on the same nature as the box art. However, when you start it up, you do get a pretty good little cutscene. It basically pans up to Pete's mansion here, or Pete's house, and he's looking very menacing, or more like rough looking, I guess, as he's looking through his telescope here. And he's very jealous of Mickey and his pals' party that's going on down below. And he's so jealous of it, he gets together with all of his children. I think they're his children, might just be his cronies here. And they basically decide to go down to Mickey's party, steal all the supplies, and sort of rain upon their parade of sorts, and bring it all back to the mansion. And they do leave a note behind that says, if you want your supplies back, just simply beat us in a race, and then we'll give you your supplies back. Which I guess does just go to show they just simply wanted attention and to be included, and really don't care anything about the party supplies, which I guess is the story of probably like every bully out there. But regardless, we do have to defeat them in every single race inside the game in order to get our party supplies back and continue raising the roof. Now when the gameplay starts up, you are in charge of Mickey in your little hometown here, and you have to follow Pluto around in order to basically find a railroad coin. And you can spin this coin by going to the little train station here and talking to Annabelle, and she will give you a ticket to ride on the train, heading you off to your first racing courses. And we're going to get more to the train station here in just a second as far as like that gameplay, but I do want to take just a second to talk about the overall graphics of the overworld here. It is very zoomed in. It makes it look more like a kiddie game at first, because some of the very elementary games have really large sprites. However, for this game, it is not elementary, and it gets very difficult toward the end of it, and I just simply chose to use these really large sprites in order to get all of the details out for the characters, and they do really look fantastic. I mean, Mickey looks just like himself here. Pluto looks just like himself. When we get to Minnie and to Donald, to who's the rest of them? Daisy, they all look absolutely fantastic. The only one who's going to look absolutely atrocious in this game is going to be Goofy, and we're going to have to, save him for a little bit because he is a true sight to see inside this game. But overall, like the graphics of the overworld, top tier. But back to the train station here, you go into it, your little train rolls off to the side here, and then you have to play like a little train mini game in order to connect all of the tracks. And it's like a little sliding puzzle, and you have to basically guide the train along a certain path in order to blow up the little buttons here to unlock the gate on the other side. And you just simply continue to slide the little pieces here in order to get your train to connect all the way to the exit. I don't generally like sliding puzzles all that much. However, like when it has like train tracks and you're not like trying to fulfill like a specific picture, I do enjoy these quite a bit because there's just so many different ways to solve the puzzle. And you only get to play it once per like departure. So like once you solve it, you're done with all of Mickey's train track adventures, and same thing for like all your other characters. But it is a fun little mini game. And now we're to the official races of Mickey. It has another little mini map here showing you all different races that you can choose from. However, you have to have what's called Mickey coins in order to unlock these races, and you can see how many Mickey coins are required in order to have that race off to the bottom right hand side. The first race requires 0, so that's obviously the first one we're going to go through, and it is going to be called Round Table Trouble. Now all of these particular courses in Mickey's area focus more like medieval times, and so you're racing around the top of the castle walls here. It is a very basic course. You're basically simply going in a square, and you're racing against the henchmen or the sons of Pete. And I have to say, like, even though you're going in a circle here or in a square, the controls are just simply top tier for this. The handling is top tier. They did get rid of the, or I guess didn't get rid of, this is a game before Speedway USA, so there's no like signs at the top telling you when the turn is coming. However, I don't really miss that all that much because that sign in Speedway Speedway USA tend to miss me up more often than not, because I would always like overcompensate for like when I thought a curve was coming up, where this just simply makes you memorize the courses. And obviously this course, there's not a lot to memorize about, but I say all that just simply to say it controls very well as you're going through it, and the overall feel of it is just simply top tier. If you want more of a full breakdown of all the controls of this, you can watch the video on Speedway USA. I do go into more detail on the controls. This is the exact same game engine. I'm not going to go into all the same details again. Just know that it controls top tier, and the difficulty is nowhere near as hard as it was in Speedway USA. Now, anytime you finish the race, you are going to get a reward. If you finish in 3rd place or 4th place, you just simply get money as your cash reward, and you can use that to spend on upgrades. But if you get 1st or 2nd place, you actually get the Mickey coin, which you can use to unlock more courses as we're going. So we move on to the 2nd course. Now we have our Mickey coin. It's called the Drawbridge Derby, and you're basically racing outside the castle wall through like a little English setting here. You do get in your car and your boat for this particular one. You sort of swap back and forth. There's a key basically aspect of the game, which does remind me a little bit more of Diddy Kong Racing. They're coming off of the hovercraft as well as the carts for that game. And you know, there's no planes like Diddy Kong Racing, but they are keeping 2 of the 3 for the Game Boy here. And I will say, like, even though I'm winning these particular races, I'm getting the prizes, I'm not like dominating them completely because I haven't memorized the courses yet. And overall, this is a fine little course here. It's not overly difficult. I tend to like the first course better, just like aesthetic wise goes, but this is a fine one here. And after this, I would realize I do not have enough Mickey coins to go on to the 3rd level in Mickey's little conquest here. So I decided to go back to the hub world and explore and try to figure out what I need to do next. So let's talk about the overall hub world when I get back. Now, as you're exploring it here, you're going to find like little money scattered throughout, which, like I said earlier, you can use for upgrades. You're also going to find more little railroad tokens throughout, and you can use these for other characters in order to get on the Annabelle's train tracks here with them. And you're also going to find like little question marks throughout the environment, and that means if you play as a different character and come upon this area, there will be a bonus for that character or a different character for that spot. And I really do find this like immensely beneficial, because like you're going to have to do a lot of backtracking with your characters, trying to collect everything. And like at the end of the game, when you're just simply trying to find like one more railroad token and you don't know which character you need it with, you can just simply load up any of them and search for a question mark spot. And so it's a small feature, but I really do like it. But inside the hub world, if you head all the way off to the east, you can head off to the garage, and here you can upgrade your car as far as like spending your money to buy a bit higher top speed, better acceleration, better handling, or you can just simply buy a better car in general and then upgrade the car parts on those cars. Now, initially I thought there were only 2 cars you could choose from, the one on the left and the one on the right. I did not see a hidden car in the background underneath the sheet. Do not make the same mistake as I made, because I went through the vast majority of the game not realizing there was a even better car than the one I was upgrading to. Also in this area, you can do like a little test drive, and judging from the test drive that I did, I can't figure out any reason you'd want to do this, because you can go on any course inside the game and basically do a ride through it. You'll get some prize even if you get to last place here. So I see no point in doing a test drive. It's probably just a feature they sort of threw in there to make the game seem a little bit larger. Now, if you head up north, you can go for like a little autumn forest here. In this area, the main attraction is going to be Chip and Dale's treehouse, and you go inside there, and you can buy like little hints for different aspects of the game. You can also buy like different challenges to complete throughout the game. It's going to give you prizes. The only challenge that I can see like really matters here is going to be if you collect 9 nuts, you can get a key to the post office, which is going to come in very beneficial if you want the actual ending of the game. I didn't do all of the different challenges and whatnot. There are like time trials and such you can complete as well. And so there's a lot of post-ending or post-game content if you want to basically go through all of Chip and Dale's options here. Now, if you head off west in the hub world, you're going to go to like a little haunted area here, and Magic at the Spells house is over here, and you can spend your money in her house, and you can basically buy different spells throughout the game. And so it takes a few races for her to actually conjure it up, and you can select it then. But when you go into a race and you complete a lap, you actually gain like a magic meter or magic bar, and if you press the B button, you can use that particular magic spell. Honestly, the best spell in the game that I discovered was like Mickey's star power or something like that. It basically made you invincible for a second, and you could just get a super boost for a little bit. It is the most costly one. However, it is definitely worth having, especially into later stages. And I know a lot of kart racers have like little items along the track. Even Mickey Speedway USA has those little items along the track. However, there's something special about like actually spending your money to get an upgrade that no one else has. You can go into the track knowing you have this extra superpower or this item here. And so it's like just enough to tweak the overall formula to make it feel a little bit more unique. And as I'm going through all this hub world here, I do notice one like small glitch in the game, or something that's sort of annoying here. For some reason or another, when I was playing, the select button menu kept on popping up as if I was pressing the select button, and I certainly was not pressing the select button, and it just kept popping up over and over and over. And the only way I could get it to stop is if you simply went down for a little while. It just sort of like reset the controls or something. But as the entire playthrough here, the select button or the select menu kept popping up even though I was never pressing that button. I don't know if that's simply an issue I have with my hardware. You can let me know in the comments down below if you ever had that issue. But I've never had that issue on any other game with the hardware I use, except for this one here. So I think it's a glitch inside this game. But at this point, I do go back to my hometown village. And I go up to all the houses here, and it just simply says that everyone's not home. Daisy's not home. Donald's not home. Goofy's not home. The only house I didn't go to was Minnie, because I assumed she wasn't home. I think she probably was home as far as like the advancing of the game goes. But at this point, when I thought no one was home, I went back to my house and off to Pluto's little dog shed at the side, went in his dog house, and then you get to play as Pluto. And so now he's your main character on the map as you're roaming around here, and he does play a little bit different from Mickey, because he can actually like dig up areas around the environment, and you can actually get like different monies or different tokens as you do this. And also as you're going, sometimes he has like a little exclamation point above his head, and it lets you know like a super secret's nearby. And if you dig in these areas, a little hole appears, and you can go into the hole and you can play a Pluto mini game. Now all the Pluto mini games are basically the same. It's a overhead view, and you basically just sort of dig your way through a little tunnel here, and you collect every single bone that you see. If you collect them all, then at that point you get an exit to the level, and you get a, I guess, a congratulations. You don't really get anything for just simply doing one, but if you complete all of the ones in the overworld, you get like a golden bone, which can be very important later on. But I have to say, like, these Pluto levels are ridiculously hard. As I was going through it, I probably spent, you know, talking about the end game here, I probably spent just as much time in all the racing combined as I did in just the Pluto mini games. Maybe even more time in the Pluto mini games, because as you're collecting the bones here, like so many rocks can fall on you, or even the bones themselves can fall on you if you collect them out of order, or there's like other dogs in the environment that can attack you, and just simply one mistake, you have to start the whole thing over again. And in some of these mini games, there's like 99 bones that you have to collect, and you can't make any mistakes the entire time. I'm not going to sit here and say it wasn't fun to go through them and try to figure out the you know, puzzle mechanics in it, or the best direction to go, or the best way to maximize your time, because there's even a time meter on these as well. So yes, it is very difficult, but at the same time, I do like the overall mini game here. I just wish it wasn't quite as brutal or as punishing as it was, and maybe not quite as time consuming either, because like, I guess half the game shouldn't be taken up with just literally Pluto mini games here. But regardless, I go through a few of them, and I've really just died so many times, I like sort of say forget about it. I'll come back to these later. And at this point, I go down and I find Minnie's house. I become Minnie, and now I can traverse the world as Minnie. Now, anytime you play as a new character, you want to explore every single area of the hub world all over again, because you want to get the nuts for Chip and Dale's challenge. You also want to get the coins for the railroad and any money that you see lying around at the same time. But at this point, I have enough tokens. I get on the railroad with Annabelle, with Minnie. I go for another little railroad connection or slide game here, and I head off to Minnie's world. Now, Minnie's world is going to be based more on the idea of like a pioneer setting or like a country setting. And the first race here is going to be called Pioneer Prairie. And for this one, you're basically racing through wheat fields. You got little scarecrows in the background, you know, just like an old-timey village in some spots. I feel like this course here repeats very similar in Speedway USA. Not all of them repeat one-to-one, but I feel like this one does pretty darn close as far as like the wheat fields, because when I was playing through it, I seem to remember like talking about the scarecrows in that review as well. But Pioneer Prairie was not quite as easy as I was anticipating, and at this point I decided to go back to Mickey's very first level, because I get 10 coins every time I win it, and it is super easy to win. And I just grind through it, I don't know how many times. I probably, you know, spent like 30-40 minutes just grinding through it, getting a ton of money here. You know, put a TV program in the background, just mindless fun. I mean, it's grinding like an RPG. But I get tons of money, and then I go back to the garage here, and I get what I think is the best car. Not the one under the sheet, but the one on the far right. And I begin to upgrade that car as well. And so when I go back to Pioneer Prairie for the second time around, I just zoom past the competition. And I don't know, there's something fun about a game where you can like just simply grind yourself to get yourself overpowered, and you go back and dominate the competition. I know some people say it's like a waste of time, you're not playing the game. I don't know how it's meant to be played, or you're, you know, cheesing the game of sorts. But if the game gives you the option to grind, and there's a upgrade for that option, I see nothing wrong with doing that to get yourself a little bit overpowered, especially earlier on in the game. Now, the second mini course is going to be called Frozen Frontier, and basically it's the same as the first level, except there's snow across the wheat fields here, snow across the scarecrows. It is a little bit different as far as like the track you're taking exactly, because you go through a water portion, so you do have to get on your little hoverboat here. It's more like a speedboat now, since we've like done our full upgrade. But regardless, this is a very easy course as well. Now, the third course is going to be called River Ruckus, and I don't have enough coins for this yet, so I have to go back to the hub world, transfer back over to Mickey, because now I have enough coins to do his third race, and go back into Mickey's world, and we're going to go ahead and complete Mickey's track here. Now, the third Mickey track is called Moat Madness, and this course here is going to be taking place completely on your little speedboat. And as you're journeying through the water, there's like little rapid areas you can get on and like super boost your speedboat way off in the distance. I personally don't really enjoy the water levels as much as I do the race car levels. The handling is just simply not as tight for them, and I really do enjoy a good handling cart here. So not necessarily my favorite, but with the new boat, it is pretty darn easy. And then we get our first boss battle. Now, all the boss battles for every one of your characters that you go through is going to be Pete, but it's going to be like Pete in a different outfit. And so this one's centered around like medieval times. You get like Pete in his knight outfit. And before you get to race him, you have to do like a little sliding puzzle. And I generally, like I mentioned earlier in the review, I do hate like sliding puzzles. They're just simply making a picture here because there's only one path you can go on or one ultimate solution here. And I really don't enjoy them, but usually these puzzles just simply have it all scrambled up ahead of time, where this one actually shows you the picture, then scrambles it up, and you can actually sort of, trace the direction that all the little pieces are slid in, and just reverse that, and you can come pretty close to the solution within like 30-40 seconds. I don't mind these as much, but it's only because they give you that preview. Now, as far as like the boss race itself goes, it's just simply you and Pete on the track racing through a castle, and it is literally just simply a straightaway here. And if you had any items to upgrade at this point, you're going to win the track very easily. If you upgrade your car at this point, you're going to win the race very easily. You just simply hold down the acceleration and you'll get ahead of him and the race is over. Now at this point, he does give you a cauldron, and you don't really know what you can do with the cauldron yet, but they are pretty vital items if you want to get the true ending of the game. But right now, it's just simply a throwaway item that you don't necessarily know what it does. But back to Mini. We go to the third course in Mini's races here called River Ruckus. It is all water, more obstacles than the Mickey one here. Once again, not a huge fan of the overall water tracks, just don't like the hovering ability. The boss battle for Mini is going to be once again Pete, but it's going to be Pete Gunslinger since it's taking place back in like Pioneer times. Pete's a gunslinger, another little puzzle like last time. And for this one, it's going to be a boat course, and it's definitely harder than Mickey's as far as like having to memorize some of it. It took me a few tries to actually go through it, but having the better boat really did help out quite a bit. And when you finish up the boss here, now you get what's called a toy box. So now we finished up Mickey's area, we finished up Minnie's area. Time to go back to the hub world, find another character that we can start to advance with. So I choose Daisy next. And obviously when you start a new character up, you have to explore all the environment, get all of the items and whatnot. And then we're going to head off into Daisy's Racing. Now when you get to Daisy Racing, these are probably the best tracks in the entire game. The first two characters, they were average tracks. I do like some of the Pioneer stuff because I like the little wheat fields and scarecrows. But these tracks here reminded me straight of Micro Machines on the NES. And I adore the early Micro Machines on the NES. Now the first one is called Raceway. And you're basically on a desk with like pencils and toy cars. And I feel like this is completely ripped off of a Micro Machines course. And I love it. There's just really nothing you can say about it except it is a fantastic course. Course number 2 is called Crazy Curves. Once again, you're racing through like little toys and whatnot, little toy blocks all around, little crayons connecting parts of the track. A little more curvy, but still excellent track in the game. The third one for Daisy is called Donut Derby, and you're racing through basically like melted cheese here, I guess, or spray cheese maybe, and you're basically racing through that, little candies and donuts or gingerbread men all off to the side, and a wonderful aesthetic, and it just really pulls the look of Micro Machines back. And enough good stuff cannot be said about Daisy's individual courses in this game. And these are my favorite ones. Well, I don't know, Donald's pretty good. We're going to get to Donald in a second. But the boss here is going to be a Candy Cane Pete. Once again, you're sort of racing through a course very similar to Donut Derby. And once again, when you finish it, you get another prize from Pete. But now that we finished up Daisy, it's time to go back to the hub world, go to a different character. We picked Donald this time. Once again, explore the entire hub world, collect all of the items, hop on the train tracks here of Annabelle, and off to Donald's landscape. Now, this is all focused on like a pirate ship and like the beach or sandy aesthetic, and these are pretty darn good too. They may not be as consistent as the Daisy ones, but at the same time, they have some really cool effects here. The first one is called Swashbuckling Sand Chase, and for the first part, you're just simply racing through the beach, but in the second part, you actually get on the pirate ship, and it looks absolutely fantastic here. A very fun course. Second one's called Cutthroat Cove, and you basically race around the ship on your little hovercraft here, and there's a ton of debris as you're going. This is probably my least favorite of the three, and I did have to sort of start memorizing the courses a little bit at this point. And the third one's called Jolly Roger Rams. Half of it's going to be on a boat, and the other half is on the ship. And the half's on the ship is really fun here because you actually get to take a curve, hop on these cannons, and it blasts you across the little sea here. And just a small little effect to make it, more enjoyable. You did have to memorize it because if you didn't basically get the turn just right on the cannons, you sort of threw you into a wall. So you want to get that turn a little bit before you get to the cannons. But overall, excellent course. The boss here is going to be Pirate Pete. Obviously makes sense. You got a little puzzle, and then you basically race across the beach and some of the shallow waters as well. It is necessary to memorize it, otherwise you probably won't beat Pete for this one. But at this point, we finished up Donald's courses, back to the hub world. I do go visit Chip and Dale because I have 9 nuts at this point. I cash it in, I get the post office key. You go down to the post office, you can actually select a option here in order to watch the credits. So if you want to just simply say, get to the part where the credits roll, this is the end of the game. but this game's a heck of a lot of fun. You're going to want to see all the extra features it has to offer. Also in the post office, you can send an email link or email message to somebody, and you basically have to link your Game Boy to another Game Boy, and you can then send an email message to that person. It just goes to show like how easily we were amused back in like the late 90s here, because if this was a feature in any game now, it'd be laughed off the streets. And there's also the option to send gift boxes to Pluto, and these are the prizes that you've won from the boss battles. And when we're going to get to that in just a second, it's going to unlock more Pluto bonus levels. Now we're heading off to Goofy as our final character inside the game in order to get some races done with him. However, when you load up Goofy, it is going to be the worst looking sprite in this entire game. It looks like something out of a horror movie. It looks like Slender Man is walking through here. He got his little arms going as he goes. It looks terrifying. I mean, like, you know, over the years, like the copyrights have sort of expired for like Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh and all of that. They're making horror movies out of it. There's no reason to even go like the direction of, you know, spending money on a Goofy horror movie. You've already got the sprites right here. Use this and you've got your Goofy horror movie good to go. But with Goofy, we head off to the railroad. We got our coins and whatnot. And when we do the first race here, it's called a roller coaster roadway. You're basically racing through an old roller coaster, little, you know, all the inclines and the declines, little curves as you go. This is actually a really fun course. I like this one quite a bit. It is definitely the best of the Goofy ones. The second one is really rapid rapids. Well, that's tough to say. But this course here is very, very hard. I wasn't able to get it, and I was just sort of getting frustrated with it. So I decided to go back and see what else the game had to offer. There's more ways I can increase my character a little bit. And so I go back to the hub world here, and I decided to go down to the post office. And I start messing around with like some of the gift boxes to Pluto. And I realized like anytime you do a gift box to Pluto, you unlock 4 courses of Pluto. You know, with his little bonus worlds here, collecting those bones. And if you do all 4 of those, you get a golden bone in return. And so you get a golden bone for doing all the ones in the overworld, and you get a golden bone for all the individual parcels here that you send to Pluto. And all the courses are roughly based upon the area of the world the package came from. And these Pluto courses, like I mentioned earlier in the review, are very difficult, very frustrating. But like when you finally do get it, like you feel like you actually earned it because you had to memorize a course here. You had to map out your entire strategy, all the different directions you wanted to go to for the time and all of that. And so like they are frustrating, but I do like them. I just simply can't get over the fact that I really do truly enjoy them. But I couldn't get the last parcel because I haven't done all of Goofy's area yet. But as I'm exploring through the hub world, I do realize that there's another option to upgrade my car even more. I go back to my grinding again, use what money I already have. And at this point, I do get the final car in the game. You know, the one underneath the sheet here in the background. Upgrade that car all the way, and it makes these Goofy levels far, far more manageable. I've also talked to the magic lady over in the forest, and she's given me the Mickey star power inside the battle as well for like the magic. And so I'm very well equipped here. I go through Goofy's second level. It is still difficult, but I was able to get through it with the faster car. The third one's called the Fairground Follies, and you basically rush through the fairground here, a mix of the boat as well as the car. It wasn't my favorite. It was sort of tough. You had to memorize it, and I just didn't really like the aesthetics all that much. And then the boss here is going to be the Circus Master Pete, and basically a roller coaster and a boat here. And the only way I could do this is if I actually used the magic power of Mickey's little star here, and I was actually able to finally boost myself to the end to beat Pete. If you don't use a special item here, I don't think you could actually beat Pete, because I've seemed to do it mostly perfect, and I simply couldn't do it unless I had an item. Now at this point, when you finish up the final battle here, the credits are going to roll. You're going to get to a little end screen. It's going to pop a little fireworks come up. It's going to say the end. The credits are going to roll, and you think you've beaten the game, but you never actually beat Pete himself. And so in order to beat Pete himself, you have to purchase yet another ticket inside the railroad here. You've had to collect all the railroad coins. You're going to go off to Pete's house, and you can't actually access Pete's house unless you've collected all 6 of the golden bones with Pluto. And so I go back and I complete the final ones of Goofy, get the final golden bone here, and now I can finally access Pete's mansion to race against Pete. You do have one more sliding puzzle, and then you have the best Pete race inside the entire game. There's so many like little obstacles here. And once again, it takes me back to like to the Daisy courses, where it's like micro machines with like enlarged like toys and enlarged desk items. So it's a really good course. And if you pretty much just sort of stay in the middle here, you're going to do really well on it. But I would like this course quite a bit. And you do have to memorize it. But all of Pete's courses, if you memorize them, they're very short, they're very easy to memorize, and they're some of the most fun courses in the game. Now at this point, when you've beaten him in a race, you get a final little cutscene. It's going to show you and all your friends carrying all your party supplies back to your party that you've gotten back from Pete. And you get like a little fireworks show. It's going to actually show the characters' faces in the background. Once again, says the end. The credits roll for a 3rd time inside the game. So we got the credits roll 3 separate times. And even when you finish, if you want to go back and do more post-game material, there are all those Chip and Dale challenges you can go through, and like time trials and whatnot. So there is a ton of material in this game, and I feel like there's even a few more Plutos that I didn't complete that are optional as well. And so a ton of material for the game. So let's talk about the game as an overall, because I really did enjoy it quite a bit. And there's just a few detractors, but for the most part, it's a top tier game. Now, things I liked about it, I liked the idea that you could upgrade your cart as you go. I liked the idea that you could grind to get that. I liked all the little different mini games, sort of mix the racing up a little bit. I liked the overworld. It reminded me a great deal of Diddy Kong Racing. And so there's just tons of pluses for this game. Oh, and the soundtrack, it was done by David Wise. Soundtrack is also pretty top tier as you're journeying through it. Now, as far as like detractor factors in the game, I would say the idea that it wasn't balanced well, like the Pluto puzzles and whatnot, those are way more difficult than anything else in the game. They took way longer than like anything else in the game. And so the balance is not necessarily perfect on that. We're going to go through the animation of Goofy. That's going to be on the negative side as well. And that, and maybe like the option where the option menu or the select menu kept popping up randomly on me. That could be a hardware issue on my side, but it still happened a lot in my experience. And so I think I gave Mickey Speedway USA a 4 or a 5 out of 10. And that was mainly because of the intense difficulty, where this one here, the difficulty is manageable as long as you put the time into it. And so that is not a factor for this review. And so I think this game here is probably a 7.5, 8 out of 10. Excellent game, probably one of the best racers I've played on the Game Boy Color, and I would highly recommend if you're a fan of games like Diddy Kong Racing. But those are my thoughts on Mickey's Racing Adventure. What do you think about the game? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above, and go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.